Hello, and welcome to Sobercast, where we provide AA speaker meetings and workshops in podcast format. We're an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us be self-supporting by visiting Sobercast.com, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 into our virtual basket. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Have a great day.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Natasha. Thank you. I'd like to start out with a prayer. And then I'll go into my dissertation, my little bit of a life story, a simple life that became complicated by me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change. Give me the courage to change the person that I can, and the wisdom to know that that person is me. And so it is. Ralph, he's I found out in this life, in this program, that everybody, as many alcoholics as there are in the world, or people as there are in the world, we all have unique DNA. You all have a unique thumbprint. Nobody has the fingerprints that you have. If you're in this square, you have there's something that separates us, and it's that slight little zig when there's a zag in the line in your, and everybody in that has a different way of dealing with situations, with trauma, with success, with grace, with love. And there's a famous book, everybody's read it. I tried reading it, it's boring as hell, but it's called 5 Love Languages. And you never know how someone feels about you, because their expression of love may be different than what you're used to, or may be different than what you do. You understand? So everybody approaches life and situations at a different angle, at a different trajectory, at a different speed, at a different understanding and comprehension, at a different level of faith, at a different level of defects. And I said that whole thing because Ralph's not a big talker in that love language. But to hear how he thinks of me, I wish he'd tell me more, but don't tell him. He's sitting over there, but he can't hear me. Act like you ain't listening. He's over there. But, everybody, and when you're a girl coming from relationships that were trauma, drama, madness, neurotic, manic, messing around, and always some stuff going on. High energy, got you losing weight and smoking back-to-back cigarettes, and then you come to a calm. You don't know how to act. Pamela will tell you, I don't know how to treat something like that, because I didn't come from that. Not even as I was raised, I didn't come from that. Even as I stay in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous for 35 years, and one day, it still takes some adjusting. And to hear him say that, and to hear the beautiful things that Natasha just said, and some of the beautiful things my sponsee said last night, I'm still trying to adjust to the magic. It don't make no sense. I knew I was gonna cry. Because see, I came from a land of, I was born in 1960, and I came from a land that parents, moms, I don't know how many of you guys are raised by a single mom, but single moms never shared their world with you. They didn't tell you when the bills were due. They didn't tell you when the boyfriend left them. They didn't tell you when the job was firing them. They didn't tell you anything. You just be a child. They held that from you. They made sure they gave you everything they could give you, but they never told you about their struggles. And when you, as a child like me, who's inquisitive and always been precocious from day one, walk into a room with your mom sitting on the side of the bed crying from a diagnosis of lupus, and you go to her, now you see her sad, you knew she had a doctor's appointment, you see her sad, she's sitting on the side of the bed, it's just me and my brother, and she's crying, and a child like me, I don't know how many of you experienced this, but watch this. Mom, what's going on? You okay? Why are you crying? What does mom usually say, or dad, or whoever? Oh, nothing's wrong. I'm okay. Oh, I'm gonna be okay. It's okay right now. And then the kid like me, well, why are you crying? Because see, what I sense is there's some sadness, There's something going on. Something's not right. Something's making you sad. Something's making you afraid, or something's making you mad. That's all I knew as a kid. And as I talked to my mom, and she'd shush me away and tell me, just brush me off and say, no, I'm good. And then later on, that same attitude, that same energy turned into anger, misdirected, throw a shoe at you, punish you, overly punish you, do some things that today's age, they call it abuse, but that was mothering back then. And what that does for a child. And listen to me, those of you who have children and grandchildren, this is just for your consideration. When a child senses something, children are closer to God than old people. Well, depends on how old you are. But anyway, you know what I mean? Children are not dumb. They're not asleep. They're resilient. They bounce back from trauma faster than any of us could. So when a child senses something and they ask grandma or auntie or uncle, what's wrong? There is an approach that my sponsor, Betty T, taught me. And what she said is you sit them down and you speak the language of the heart and you tell them what's going on. Now, you ain't got to go into the weeds like my boyfriend quit me because he's messing with another girl. No, but what you do is help them understand and trust their senses. If you get brushed off too many times and told, no, you tripping, then you get a guy like Ralph, and if he turned left or if he don't pick up the phone, my magic magnifying mind said that something going on. And all of a sudden, my senses are confused because I only have 5 of them. We call a 6th one. That's another story. I got 5. My senses are confused. I go into fight or flight. Now I'm afraid. Now I'm going to start acting in the defect of jealousy, fear, envy, fear. And I'll get into that later, but I don't know where this is coming from. I think I'm reflective on my mom and on what love looks like. What surrendering from those missed ideas, those incorrect thoughts, those misjudgments. How do you go from making a decision on a sane and sound day that you're just going to go to work, get some groceries and come home? How do you go from that and end up at the alcohol station or at the bar or at somebody's house or in somebody's dungeon of a drug and alcohol den? How do you get from stopping those thoughts? I'm talking to people who are new. How do you stop those thoughts? I can't stop my thinking. You guys told me I'm powerless. How do I stop my thoughts? And more so, how do I not follow the thoughts with the action? That takes practice. That takes willingness to listen to someone else's suggestion outside of your small mind, if you're like me. So when you tell a child nothing's wrong, the child starts doubting him or herself. They start doubting their intuition. They start doubting their judgment. They start doubting people. They stop trusting people. And don't add the part about the God issue. I'm going to talk about that on top of that. See, I'm a recovering Catholic, and I went to Catholic school for about 11 years from Los Angeles, California. My sobriety date is November 2nd, 1988. I'm the mother of 2 boys. Jonathan is 33 years old, who just closed on a house in Georgia. And I have a 23-year-old who's just like me, and he's brilliant, and he's an artist and a clothing person. His name is Miles. And I was very careful when I picked those names. I had 2 sober sons, and I wanted to do this thing right. I wanted to be that sober mother that I would see other people be like. I wanted to be able to hang out with my boys and take them to baseball games and all that. And I always pictured me and their fathers. I was married twice in recovery, standing on the sidelines, even though they were not athletic. My kids are the only 2 Black kids that can't play basketball, baseball, football. I just watched my $250 with the helmet and all the practice and the cleats and run up and down the field, and they can't play nothing. Hear Miles tell it, he was a bad. He said, Mom, I'm a baller. I said, no, you wasn't. You might have been crying like a baller, but you was not a baller. Boo, you goofy. You know, so my kids are not the cool Black kids. You know, I got the oldest son who likes listening to stuff like Pink Floyd. He'll roll up, listen to Megadeth or some. I don't know who he is. He's the color of my shirt, but he listens to hard rock. He got mixed up at the hospital. I don't know where he came from. All his friends' names are Josh, Brad, Brett, and Zach. That's my sons. And everybody's hair is cut like the old Justin Bieber with the long bangs. And here this kid goes with the locks. Beautiful soul, though. Beautiful soul. but he's just, and his last name is Strange. So he's a real strange child. Miles, on the other hand, is artistic. His father was artistic. I'm artistic. He's smart. He's witty, and he's very spiritual. Both my boys are very, very spiritual. You ever meet them, you will feel the spirit of the light come into the room before those two do. My mother had 2 kids. She had myself and my brother. My youngest brother, he got this thing called the disease of alcoholism. And so did I. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought maybe it was because of the way my mother treated me. My mother was ferocious. My mother was a soul sister. She should have been on the front of Ebony magazine. She would wear everything matched. Everything was correct. Her makeup was slayed. She wore the big afro wigs to the little. I mean, she named all her wigs. I mean, my mother was that kind of woman, that the little girl would sit on the bed and watch my mother get dressed because she was so fly. Everything matched, from the nails to the hair to the wigs and everything. And she was just like, I'm unapologetically Leslie Strait. She was unapologetically Yvonne Smith Foreman. You don't play with me, Miss Yvonne. And I look in the mirror sometimes, and you ever look in the mirror at yourself and you see glimpses of your mom and dad just shade over, like, ooh, for that second, I look like my mother. Oh my God. You know, you ever get that when you get older? But anyway, I came to understand today and appreciate today what I didn't appreciate and understand then. So I didn't become an alcoholic because we were poor, didn't have enough. I have something in my body that's different than regular consumers of alcohol and anything else. My body don't work like normal people. It's almost like the guy who, I was watching a guy in the airport, and he was obviously handicapped, and his legs were just really bent. And I was watching him in the airport yesterday, and he was walking with the crowd because there's a long walk, and you could tell that, you know, he was a little deformed, but he was walking through the airport, changing planes, no problems. And I looked at him and I said, God, that's hard. But to him, it seemed like the normal thing. And I said, damn, he's good. He didn't have no body, he didn't have no dog, he didn't have no security dog. And he was walking to his place, and he was about 4 feet tall, and he was getting it. I said, okay, I can't even walk in these heels. He doing better than me. So, you know what I'm saying? But when I see little glimpses of God, I call those God winks. Those are when I notice stuff and my eyes lock on that, there's a message because I'm awake. There's something for me to see. There's something that the universe is showing me. So there's something with me. And our disease is that you can't see us walking gingerly or crooked. You can't see it. My mother had a disease called lupus. You can't see lupus. Everybody who has lupus looks okay, but there's something wrong on the inside. Well, that's what the disease of alcoholism is like. There's something wrong on the inside. Because see, I was able to show up at work and perform and put on my wigs and get my nails done. I had braces on my teeth. I was 28 years old and I was at my bottom, but I looked okay. If you didn't know me, you'd think I was just normal. I thought I was just normal, but there was something broken and wrong on the inside. And you guys gave me the diagnosis and the language to call it alcoholism. I didn't come into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous November 2nd, 1988, talking about how I'm proud to be here. I want to find out how to be better. I didn't come in here looking at the promises. I didn't know what the hell the promises were. I didn't know what the steps were. I came in one time and stayed by God's grace. To me, as I look back on my life, that means I'm willing and I'm done. I was so willing and done at 28 years old. I had no fight left. I was 80 pounds. I had done every kind of alcohol. I was the girl that would start out in the beginning of the party as the party girl and end up late the next day trying to gather my stuff to leave. I was the girl that called in sick to the job all the time. And if it was too many days in a row, then you go out on disability. See, I had that down to a science. Okay, I'm just not going to come in. You get 3 disability in 10 years. Okay, cool. I worked at a good job. My alcoholism took me to the point of having me drink when I didn't want to drink. See, I went through the club scene. Start out on ladies' night. You know, y'all remember ladies' night? Ladies get in free before 10. Some of you men put on skirts and went in on ladies' night, but I ain't gonna say no names. Yeah, I had to pause here. And all the ladies would come in, and then all the men would come in, and they'd have to pay $10, $20. And the key of your alcoholic like me is put on the shortest, tightest things and grease up your legs like gas station mops and sit there and be cute. You ain't got but $1.50. You know, spent that on your first Corona, at least look like you got some money. And then I'd get some guy like Billy or some guy like Rodney Rock or some guy like Rico Cruz to come on over and start buying drinks. And not only that, I'm a giver. I share. So if you was my girlfriend and we rolled 4 deep, all four, he had to buy everybody drinks. Don't add some of that powder substance. We in the bathroom taking turns coming in and out the stall. That's why girls went to the bathroom together, by the way, guys. Well, my girls. We had to share. I first started getting loaded in high school. At the end, I ended up leaving Catholic school, and I went to Fairfax High School in Los Angeles, and that's where the magic marijuana was. We used to call it dirt weed. Start out with dirt weed. What was dirt weed? Weed was somebody that dropped some marijuana seeds in their backyard and dropped some seeds in there, and then it would taste like dirt. And that was that headache weed. Everybody had that headache weed. That weed that you wanted to be high, but when you got high, you had a headache. I don't know what that. We should all have strokes right now because I don't know what that was, but we smoked it. And then we went from that. And we got fancy, and we got a couple little jobs. And I was always a manipulator and a figurer outer. I was 5 credits short from graduating from high school. And I decided that I was going to do that. You know how you go to school and you get credit for working? So by my senior year, my last semester, I had a job that I had a guy say, just sign my paper and you give me my 5 credits. So that way I had more time to go home and get high. I started out with pink champagne. I love pink champagne because it was cute. It was pink. It was beerish, but it wasn't quite. Then I went to the other champagne. Then I went to Brass Monkey, not the song, the actual drink. Them little clubs. Do they still make those? Don't answer. But anyway, those little clubs, you had the Brass Monkey. You had the different type. I love that Brass Monkey because it looked cool. Had to drink it in the can. Then we had the Big Mouth Mickeys, baby. Then I started being a beer drinker. Why? Because this was during the era of Mike Tyson. And we would all go to a bar that was playing it on, it wasn't, what was the name of that cable station where not Z Channel, on TV. Boy, they would have it at the club, and we'd get there, we'd have our little dresses on, we're gonna get our little drinks. I got my little drink, my Corona, and then I started trying different stuff. White Russians, the drink, not the man. White Russians, then I started drinking Drambuie, then I started drinking Long Islands and Zombies, and it was on, you know what I'm saying? So you get there to the Mike Tyson party, and everybody's there, and we got us a seat because we got there early. We got to get close to the ballers, though, because those are the ones going to keep paying for our drinks, and we was all cute with blonde hair. Believe it or not, I have blonde hair. Anyway, and we're all cute, and we sit together. And baby, you go to the bathroom while he goes to the bar to get your drinks because we getting it on. We started out at home. You know, you always got to start at home. Get back, and then bing, the fight's over. Mike Tyson helped with my alcoholism because the fight was over and wasn't nobody leaving. So he had the shortest fights in the history of America. I just thought about that the other day. He was the shortest fighter in the history of America. He knocked somebody out and they'd be like, you blinked and you missed it. But we all stayed till it was too late. Then we'd leave and we'd go to somebody's house. That's how my drinking was a big, big party to me. It was a nonstop party. And I enjoyed every minute of it until I didn't enjoy it. Then you're going to put into the mix. You know, I tried the acid. I tried the blotters. I take the purple microdot. I mean, I was an experimental. I was young. Somebody give me something, say, try this, I try it. But there's something about that alcohol. See, I didn't realize at the beginning and the end of every tour of drinking, alcohol was involved. Let me run out of what I really want, and you offer me a drink. I'm going to drink it. In fact, I'm going to drink it so fast that I hope it puts me to sleep because I was on the other end of my high. I'm going to drink it so fast and I'm going to want some more. And I'm going to dig in the trash can to get that little corner. Remember, old people used to call it the corner, and drink that corner to drink that pill, take that pill so I can drink some more. So fast forward. I didn't have any kids. My mom didn't know where I was. And then my alcoholism also led me to, I'm going to go back a little bit and I'm going to go into recovery. I was homeless in Venice Beach for about 1.5 years. I went through homelessness, but I couldn't see what alcohol had done. I went to homelessness because prior to going to homelessness, I decided I wanted to be a prostitute. I did that for about 30 days and got a 30-day chip and arrested at the same time. I'm saying 30 days of prostitution chip. I'm not good. I didn't do good. I got thrown in jail after I tried it on Sunset. And I did 5 days in Civil Brand at the time. I didn't see nothing to do with alcoholism. I just thought life wasn't fair. My mother put me out, and I thought that wasn't fair. My mother didn't like my boyfriend. I thought that wasn't fair. And then my mother gave me a card and she would take the keys when she got mad. I thought that wasn't fair. And then I go to jail, and then I'm homeless, and all my clothes get stolen because I had everything in this friend of mine's car, and I end up homeless, and all I could do is skate to with a tube top on and a pair of corduroys, but it was my roller skates, and I was homeless on Venice Beach for 1 year. Fast forward 1 year or 2 ago, I was about half a block from where I used to hang out at, speaking in the sand in Venice Beach, sober. And I looked to my right and I said, I used to hang out under those palm trees. I used to take Black Beauties. I used to drink alcohol. Whatever you gave me, I was a garbage dump. Whatever you gave me to change the trajectory and the thinking and the feeling or whatever it was, I was chasing. I didn't even know I was chasing anything. I just thought that was something to do. My mother hadn't seen me in over 1 year, and she and my stepfather came and picked me up. I ended up in Orange County at a girlfriend's house. They came and picked me up. They dusted me off. They got me some clothes, and they put me back into life. And that's when I started working in the phone company. But that didn't have nothing to do with alcohol, I thought. Definitely nothing to do with life unmanageable. Because, see, I don't know about you, but I come up fast. See, it's something scary about an alcoholic that comes up too fast. Somebody told me one time, stop chasing the money, stop chasing the stuff. It's even in the book where it talks about the man that chases the money, the property, prestige, trying to get his family back into, that man is still shaky, but the man that goes overboard on the spiritual thing, he'll level out soon. I come up too fast. So my disease gets progressively worse. So now I've got an apartment. I'm living on my own. I've been at the phone company about 6-7 years. I'm 26, 27, 28 years old, and I'm getting older, and the disease is getting heavier. And I'm experimenting now with heroin and alcohol, and I'm experimenting now with cocaine and alcohol, and I'm experimenting now with whatever you gave me and alcohol. Something then hits me in my soul space. Something's wrong. All those friends, they weren't calling anymore. All those clubs, I wasn't going to them. Ladies' night, free, didn't matter. All those movies and plays and all the stuff that I normally am, the true me likes, I wasn't doing anymore. I was a prisoner in my own apartment. My apartment was a drop-in pad. If you had a package, you could come in. Toward the end of my disease, I'm going to say this and get into the recovery. Toward the end of my disease, I was out of the club one night. One time I went, and I met a girl. She's African-American. She spoke fluent Spanish. And we were talking. And, you know, it's something about when you on the disease and the disease is on you, you kind of attract people out of nowhere. And she's speaking, and I was like, wow, you know, I got friendly because I'm just like that. She says, my boyfriend and I, you know, we're just out here partying, you know, we're on our way to Mexico. I was like, okay. Come to find out, somehow, some way, I don't know, they had stolen a huge amount of heroin and cocaine from somebody. I've never seen that much in my life. And I know this is Alcoholics Anonymous, but this is my story. I've never seen bricks like that. And of course, I invited him to come stay with me, which is the worst thing. So now I'm speedballing. I'm snorting this wet. I'm snorting this. I'm smoking that, and I'm drinking. I'm full blown now. I'm Lenny Bruce in this shit now. For real. There's so many chapters. I know Ross sitting here talking, you didn't tell me about that. Every time I tell him another story, you'd be like, when did that happen? I have so many chapters in my illness, as do I have in my getting betterness, that it would take all day to tell you the stories. But Samantha said something last night, at my sponsor meeting. She said, thank God for your pain. I'm so glad you were broken. In other words, she said, I'm so glad your pain, because had it not been for you hitting that bottom, they wouldn't have had any help like they feel I helped them. Thank God for the brokenness. Thank God for the suffering. Buddhism talks about suffering. I'm getting into that, but Buddhism talks about suffering, and that is life. Now, we like to say, suffering is optional, pain's going to be with life, but when you get on this side of recovery, there's a lot of sacrifices for other people, and suffering in your own dis-ease and your own disabledness and your own inability to connect with the power all the time, and suffering with choices and consequences. And when she said that, that hit me. So my last run consisted of me getting loaded and not getting loaded. I had mountains of everything, doing everything I wanted with a good friend. Fast forward, took a drink, took whatever it was I needed to, and it didn't work. Now, it's bad when you run out, but it's even worse when you got a lot and it ain't working. I don't know about y'all. I'd rather run out and have that psychosis than to be sitting there with tons of it and can't do anything. And that's what happened with me. And that's my surrender, or the beginning of my surrender. I eventually let my mom know, because I wasn't living with her. She hadn't seen me. Alcohol makes you hide out. And she started going to meetings with me. For my first 90 days, that same Yvonne rolled with me for my first 90 days. That's where I met Greg L. That's where I met Brenda M., who's my sponsor now. That's where I met Gail L. And that's where I started going to meetings. I had an outpatient program because I wanted to keep this funky little job called Pacific Bell, but it was something other than that kept me coming back. I liked your smiles. I liked the way you greeted me. I liked how you told your business from a podium and unashamedly confessed. I'm a recovering Catholic school girl, so I know what confession looks like, but it didn't look like what you guys were doing. We confessed in a little bitty box. It looked like a closet. Y'all were confessing out loud in the noon with the lights on bright with a microphone. And you made me laugh at your confessions. And you made me nod my head like, yeah, that's what that felt. Yeah, I did that too. It's that, and then you throw in a little information like, I drink because of the effects produced by it. I didn't have that language until I got into the ones of Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't have that language until I got into the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous. But before I got into the book, before any of that came, steps or anything, it was the words from your mouth and the way that you walk that attracted me. And I said, if you got that information, I want to get that same information, because whatever you found, it sounds attractive, it sounds smart, and it makes sense. It's like, that's why you guys gave me discovery over things that I didn't even think about was a problem. So I did what you guys told me to do. You told me to come on, let's hang out. We went to barbecue places and had candlelight meetings, and I was given a reason to show up because you guys were looking for me. You guys were looking for me. And if I showed up enough, then you gave me the privilege of letting me be the cake lady, or letting me be the treasurer and collect the money, or let me give a treasury report, or raise my hand and take a 30, 60, 90-day chip. And you guys clapped for me as I got up there and took that chip. And you made me smile on the inside and on the outside. And you made me feel like I was a part of something. And you made me feel like if I was going to be missing, you'd come looking for me. And when I called you, you answered the phone. Even when I was detoxing, coming down at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to test this group of people. Y'all still answered. Now, you might have sounded groggy, like you lost your damn mind, called me at 9 in the morning, but you guys answered. Then you told me to get a sponsor. And for a while, I had a struggle with that because where I was going to meetings, the women had gunshot wounds and bullet holes. I said, I went to Catholic school. I'm not from South Central. I'm from the other side of town. See, I'm separating myself. Where they have cars and garages and people ain't. And I was getting ready to leave a meeting, and a girl said to me, "Where are you going?" She just happened to catch me in the middle of a meeting. I was walking out. That was my very first sponsor, Gail. She said, "Where are you going?" I said, I can't identify. I've been trying to identify. And they're talking about some trauma that I didn't really have. I don't get it. She told me something, and I'm going to share it with you, newcomers, in-betweeners, and people who get tired of this program. She said, keep coming back till you hear your story. She said, there's somebody that's got your story. And I've kept coming back. And the more I keep coming back, the more y'all got parts of my story, my exact same story, or new stories that make me want to follow. I need to binge watch some of y'all, because some of y'all got some stories that's phenomenal. You came up out of that. You came up out of Moby Dick's stomach. Not Moby Dick's stick, but Moby Dick's stomach. You came up out of that and you made it through. Shut up, Mary Jo. You made it through. How did you do that? How did you get those kids back? How did you get that abusive husband or that abusive wife? How did you get the IRS off your ass? How did you go through jail sober? How did you go through jail not sober? I binge watch. You know why? Because now I've become accustomed to hearing miracle stories. See, when I thought of miracles, I already thought about the Old Testament, New Testament, parting the Red Sea and all that stuff. But I see miracles all in 182 squares, including mine and the clock. I got into the program and I started doing the steps and I started following people. I started going to big book studies. Nobody took me through the big book. We all just got together and got in the middle of somebody's floor and we went line for line, page for page. In fact, we were so cool with it. We'd all go line for line, page to page. And then when we got through with Bill's story, we would go when we had VCRs and we'd watch Bill's story at the end of Bill's story. We used to do that as a group, watch the movie. And that made the book alive. I loved it because, you know, I'm a movie girl. I was so interested. It piqued my interest and it gave me a solution. What's happened to me since I've gotten sober? A whole lot of stuff. I got sober at 28. When I made 28 years sober, I was like, okay. You know how sometimes they say, yeah, maybe after 5 years, you'll hear the pop. I don't know what it is, but something about being sober longer than you've been not sober is really strange because this is all I know now. Sometimes it's difficult for some people to understand, but it comes to me so intuitively now. Because why? This is a program of attraction, but it's a program of change, and it's a program of changing your ideas, your perspective, your trajectory, the way you see things. It changes everything if you're willing. If you go through these steps, and I'm not here to teach you the steps, talk to me later, I'll take you through them real quick and we'll be getting them down. But when you go through the steps like they took me through the steps, you'll get those aha moments. Aha. And what they like to call them is spiritual experiences that produce spiritual awakenings, those ultimate aha moments. And then you'll start seeing things differently. I don't know about you, but I wear glasses. And I hate the bifocal ones because you got to do this, you know, for all y'all, glad a lot of y'all got them on now. Y'all looking through the right. And if you don't hold your head right, it's blurry. And if you hold your head down, so, you know, but when you get it right in that central point where you can see real good, Ruth, when you can see real good and it's not too blurry, not too high, not too low, and you can see clearly, that's how I like to be, right smack in the middle of the prescription of life, which is the detriment to the detriment of the disease, but to the asset of the program. See, this ain't new. See, when I was new, I thought, wow, this was all amazing. This was all amazing. I was excited. And I'd run from one meeting to another. Did you know that if you don't take a drink, you won't get drunk? Did you know that I have an allergy in my body and I can't take, I break out in the rash? Did you know that once you make a cucumber or pickle, you can't go? Did you know that once you toast a piece of bread, it's toast, you can't untoast toast? I was amazed at the simplest ideas. And not only that, I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty smart. I've read a couple books, but when you guys took that book and twisted it, and then you added your own stories, not just Bill and Bob and alcoholic number 3 and Paul McHugh and Dr. Paul, Elemental P, and all these other people. No, your story for the 5 minutes you've been here. And how you've been awakened. And what's so cool about what the Most High does, he wakes you up in degrees. Because if he gave it all to you at once, if you're alcoholic like me, you're going to screw it up. I'm so glad he gives me grace and blessings in little pieces, because if I could see how far it goes, I probably would have sabotaged it. If I'd have saw then that I'll be here 35 years later, 63 with 2 grown kids, sitting in New Jersey, looking at the beach, just left Hawaii. This program has taken me all over the world, been to London twice, been to Sweden, getting ready to go to Australia. I mean, I can't, wait a minute, that's not including the continental United States of America. I would have been telling you a damn lie. I wouldn't said that while I was smoking the joint. You don't understand the thinking of an alcoholic. I'm glad God opens up the door a little bit. How did I get here? God willing. I got so deep into the steps, I would have these people that I respected in the rooms like Frank P. and Greg Little. Frank P. was the screamer. Greg Little, and I'd go to their book studies and sit in the front, and you didn't have to tell me to bring a highlighter. You didn't have to tell me to take notes. I looked over at the book next to me, and I want to see my book look like they book. It's sexy to have a marked up, raggedy ass book with the pages falling. I wanted my book to look like that, because it meant that I knew something, I was paying attention for once. And when I would intuitively see something, you guys would confirm. I'd walk up to Greg and I said, Greg, this man hugged me incorrectly in the room. It felt uncomfortable. His thing was hard, and I was new. And Greg and the other men went over to that man. They checked that man. That man didn't bother me. He says, to have brothers that stood up for a little girl like me. I'm a little nappy-head little black girl with a mama that's Ngawa Black Power with a big ass afro watching Soul Train. And this is where I end up with a bunch of men around me who hugged me, no matter what color they were. Recovery don't have no color. I'm going to say that again for the ignorant asses in the back. Recovery don't have no color. You know, there's a story that I heard from one of my mentors. If you got a sheet in his trunk, and he's the best brain doctor in the world, and your only child in this whole world, and you're a different race, needs that surgery, would you let him do the surgery on your child? Oh, you can do surgery on my ass, because guess what? There's but one ultimate authority, and that one is God. See, this program is not designed to give me all the gifts and the blessings. To me, that's just the cherry on top. This program is designed to give me a whole idea of a power greater than me, because I'm not the one running nothing. Because the problem is, when I think I'm running something, I am running me and you into the ground. That's what I do. See, I'm the girl that try to be the Bonnie to his Clyde, and I'm going to help him steal some shit. And the next day, I'm in a fetal position. Then my disease, I'm in a fetal position because I was terrified while I was driving the getaway car. I was in a fetal position. I don't do bad well. I ain't built like that. Some of y'all gangster chicks, you talking about how bad you whoop her, and I'll kick her, and I'll beat her, and I can talk like that, but let her swing. I'm the first one running. I'm not fighting shit, no. But when you guys added to that, because in the street, they say, oh, you just a punk, you're scary and all that. Today, I will tell you, yep, I sure am. I'll shoot you in the kneecaps, but I'm not fighting nobody. My spine says, no, I can talk you. But when it comes down to that, but you guys gave me some words to back that up. You said, and you will cease fighting everything and everybody. I said, oh, good God, thank you, God, for that part. Let me tell you something about my boys. because I don't talk about my kids a lot when I speak. Tell you about Miles. Miles has a hearing disorder. Didn't know it. He's born with it. So Miles had been reading lips from like the first grade, like from 2 to 6 years old. He was reading your lips, and I didn't know that. Got him tested at school. They said he has mild to moderate hearing loss in both ears. So I'm a single mom because, of course, I left my husband and came here to Atlanta, came to Atlanta. So now I'm that single mom. Now I'm my mother raising 2 kids. The difference is I got a God in a program with guidance. So I get Miles and I get him set up and I get him hearing aids. $5,000 later, I made sure that boy got his hearing aids. He gets his hearing aids. He wears them for a long time. But when it starts growing, his ears start growing. And when your ears start growing, the moldings change. So I go back to the hearing aid people and say, can we just get the molds and attach them? They say, oh, no, but those hearing aids don't exist anymore. So my son proceeded to have to live his life reading lips because mom didn't have the money to buy another $5,000 pair. Oh, you don't know about this insurance, but y'all always add, I'm not trying to stand on a political thing. When you vote, look into shit like this. They don't pay. They pay for the hearing test, but they don't pay for the hearing aids. But you can get some glasses. So you'll be able to see, but you can't hear shit. How about that? Because of this program, Ralph knows a guy. And the guy, they make hearing aids. And this guy's a big guy. He's a big deal. My son, sight unseen, I won't even tell you how much he charged for the hearing aids. Got my son last year a pair of hearing aids. Because I finally convinced my son, because he's ashamed and embarrassed. Well, isn't that why we come in here? Because we feel less than, we feel broken, something's wrong with us, we feel defective, less than, and all that other stuff. And I don't know if he's got this disease or not, but I know that feeling. I said, son, go on and get hearing aids, and that'll help your education and job. You'll be able to communicate better with people. And one day you come and say, Mom, to be honest with you, I can't really hear everybody if they're talking at the same time. And this guy in the fellowship told Ralph, send the boy to me. And this guy got my son, because of this fellowship, got my son a pair of high-end hearing aids that he can program with his iPhone. My son hears now. He didn't go anywhere without him now. He's no longer ashamed. He's 23. Because of this program, you guys taught me how to be a mother. So now I treat my sons like my sponsees. I talk to my kids like this. All y'all that don't know how to deal with your kids, use the traditions and the steps on your children and your grandchildren like you do. Sit them down and explain stuff. I had a sponsee. She's on here now. She got 2 boys. She just got rejected off of a program in New York. Y'all have to pay for oil and gas and water, and they rejected her. She fell into a fetal position. Let me tell you what sponsor does. Just what I did. I said, okay, let's unpack this. Because there's always a spiritual solution to every problem. Dr. Wayne wrote a book about it. There is one if you seek it and if you ask for somebody to help you. There's always an answer to whatever your dilemma is, even if it's not a solution to the actual dilemma, but how to act in faith and how to walk in faith and how to admit you're scared, but don't do it alone. Tell somebody and they can hold your hand through that. That's what this fellowship is giving me. So I treat my kids like this. You want to talk to your mom, you want to talk to the financial advisor, you want to talk to the spiritual advisor. They pick. They come with these questions and these challenges, and they ask me things, and I said, well, son, this is what it is. I've even taken these steps in this book that they're so smart at Google this while we're on the phone. Look up page 90 in the 12 and 12 and read that to me, because my son fell out with one of his friends. I said, you better fix that. I said, read it to me. He says, Mom, it is a spiritual, I said, axiom. That's a truth. It's a spiritual axiom that whenever I am disturbed, no matter what the cause, I am at fault. Even if the other person did something to me, now I'm paraphrasing, I'm at fault too. We don't have the dubious luxury. I said, okay, so what does that sound like to you? That's how I do it. That's when you incorporate this program, the steps and the principles and all this into your life. It's a knee jerk. It's my default now. My default now is better than it used to be. Jonathan had a nervous breakdown. That's the one that's 33 that just bought a house. And the reason why he's a total miracle, he's not one of us either. He's just a kind guy. Good guy. I've been so blessed to have two sons, and I'm going to mention it, African-American sons, one in Los Angeles, one in Southern Georgia, and they've never touched a pair of handcuffs. They've never sat in jail. Now, I would like to take credit for that, and I might have this much to do with it, but it is grace because I raised them to believe in a God of their own understanding, because that's how you raised me. I was 28 years old. I was a baby. I was 82 pounds. I had two kids. After 1,000 abortions, I successfully managed to have two kids, grace of God, and then raised them in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd pack their little goodies and their Cheerios up and bring them in here. Jonathan had a nervous breakdown. I'm 20-something years sober. I go see this boy in a padded cell in a paper suit with his hair matted to his head, and the light in his eyes was gone because he was so depressed. He suffered from physiological depression. And I knew something was wrong with him. Why? Because I had a sponsor named Betty T, who was an RN and a psych nurse, and she helped me recognize depression in my sponsees, mania, neurosis, bipolar, and all of that. Now, some of y'all won't sponsor people on medication. That's good for you. The more broken you are, bring your ass on. The more broken you are, if you got to take medication, we're going to sit here, we're going to unpack it, and we're going to sit down with a pencil, piece of paper, and these are the questions you need to ask your damn doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I got some goddamn common sense. Ask your doctor about this. Did you tell your doctor you're an addict when they told you, or alcoholic, when they told you they're going to have to give you this, this, and this? Did you share the truth about who you are? Did you share the truth about your physical ailment? Medical science is so wonderful now, they accept that stuff as part of it. Could you imagine Bill and them trying to tell somebody they got a disease and science gonna try to break it down with a belladonna treatment and some old psychic? No, today it's acceptable to be an alcoholic. Praise God. If your ass is on meds, this is my theory. Okay, well, we don't know if it's alcoholism, because alcoholism shows up as bipolar and manic and neurotic, and it shows up as a lot of things. I don't know what it is, but if you own something, keep taking and let's work these damn steps. I told somebody, see, in my life, my son, when he went to that mental thing, he's a vet, and he went to that mental place, and they put him in a program for 90 days because I had to get him up out of my house. And I sat there and I watched him, but I have watched this young man who's just always nervous and scared and quiet. I watched him go from that. They got him into an apartment. He got a real support dog. No offense to people who got support dogs, but this one's a real one that the VA gave him. And the dog is a chocolate lab, and his name is Henry. Henry saved my son's life. Now my son has purpose because of an animal. I hooked him up with, let me tell you how wonderful this program is. I hooked him up with a sponsee that sells real estate. My son had zero credit. He listened to me. He listened to my sponsee. They got him up to his score so it could be a certain point, and he closed on a $240,000 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house out in Atlanta, outside of Atlanta. He did it, and my children are traditions, fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. The only time they call their mama for help is when they need it. Who but God? Who but this program taught me how to do that? Who but this program taught me how not to castrate my children with my tongue, but to love them to life, to give them the hug, speak the language of love for each individual person. I pray that my goal with each individual woman that I touch and that I sponsor, I treat you different because you got a different thumbprint. Going back to the beginning, the way you roll is how you roll. The way you understand is how you understand. I have to adjust myself to be of maximum service to you. You don't have to adjust you. I got to understand than to be understood. I need to love rather than be loved. I need to forgive rather than be forgiven. I need to be a channel, because anything that's in the channel, if I'm a channel, any fluid or any substance that flows through that channel, that means the walls of that channel is going to get some of that substance on it. So if it's love I'm giving, I'm going to get some love. If it's truth I'm giving, I'm going to be the truth. If it's the image of God and the Most High and the principles and how to walk and talk, I'm going to have a little of that on the inside of my channel. So God, make me the channel of the peace of the person I'm talking to, because y'all ain't been in peace in a long time. And I know how it feels to be disturbed and then you can't even take a drink. You don't understand. See, I can sit up here and break this down. There's some great orators and there's some great teachers of the steps and all that. But when I put skin on it and tell you this is how life is, I can't walk around saying I love God, but I can't stand white people. I can't walk around here saying I love God, but I can't stand them gays. I can't walk around here saying I love God, but I can't stand them women. I can't walk around here talking about I love God and I can't stand her next to me. I better learn how to work with it and get over it. Like I tell my kids, fix that. Fix it. Sponsorship is important. It's so important that I would put my life on sponsorship. I've had some great women, and I got 1 minute in my life. I'd like to thank Gail, Lowe's still around, and she's best friends with Brenda M., who was my female sponsor too. Greg, who passed away, and he was like, his voice was like jazz. His voice was like Miles Davis when he talked about the book, you know what I mean? Leon with the strange haircuts, and everybody thought we were related because he used the last name Strange, but I just started lying and saying we were because he was 6'4" and about 300 pounds. Sounded good to me. Yeah, that's my brother. Giving me the wisdom. Telling my sponsees while we sat in a meeting, they always run over to me while I was at a meeting in 9604, and I'm sitting next to him, and he told them, stop coming to her. She needs a meeting too. Y'all take that lady. You come to her after the meeting. Men like that. Betty T, who came into my life when I was 5 years sober after I came back from a stint in Germany, who took me from 5 for 23, 24 years. Who taught me everything and just put the cherry on top. And then when Betty passed away, Ron W. for taking me for a little while until I can get my feet back right. And after Ron W., sprinkled in between all that was Ralph. He was my go-to when Betty couldn't be contacted. I'm getting ready to shut it down. And today, guess what? My mother died 2017, and on that day, I couldn't drive. I couldn't take myself around. I'm in LA. And Brenda M. was back in the fellowship. She's my sponsor early on. And I looked at her and said, Brenda, can you sponsor me again? She said, of course, baby. And we've been rolling since 2017. Again, I don't sponsor hop. I don't jump all over the place. I don't run around. I can't. I want you to get to know me. So I hope that you get to see my tag. I have this thing I'm going to say this. I want you to see my tag in the back. I'm walking through here thinking I'm cute, and I got this big ass red for sale Ross tag hanging out the back of I got some toilet paper on the bottom of my shoe. I tuck your tag, baby. Tuck my tag, because I can't see my own ears. I need you to tell me, girl, you're missing an earring. The back is off your earrings, bro. I need you to tuck my tag, to take my dress out my pantyhose, to let me know that I got toilet paper on the bottom of my shoes in life, and help me. Kevin Hart, help me. So that I can tell the next girl, Ruth, your tag is hanging up. Al, you know what? Cool haircut, dude, but I think you forgot to put your bottom teeth in. Whatever it is, help me. So with 35 years, I have more chapters. If you want to know more, you just got to binge watch. My name is Leslie, recovering alcoholic, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Sobercast is ad-free, and we'd like your help in order to keep it that way. So if you'd like to help us be self-supporting by pledging $1 or $2 a month, visit Sobercast.com and look for the donate links. Thank you very much.